And good morning to you on this Friday, the 20th, right? Okay. Yes, anyway, thank you so much. Producing this morning is the incomparable, the famous Tammy Quick. She's back. DL, she's back.
Yeah, hey, listen, Troy, it's the first day of spring, and we got Tammy back. That's a wonderful first day of spring.
I'm serious. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But anyway, good morning to each of you, and we appreciate you being with us on today. And we're going to be chatting with DL this hour, moving to Courtney Banks McLaughlin is scheduled to be with us on 9. She's written a book. And this is Women's History Month, and so we're going to be featuring her, talking about her life and legacy and her book during the 9 o'clock hour. Oh, anyway, good morning to you, DL. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
Yeah, we just need to go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off. Tough loss to Carolina last night, and you don't have to get too far on social media for everybody to have an opinion. I think Hubert and AD need to talk this weekend because they won't do anything today because they don't want to upstage the NCAA tournament. But we'll see. It was just terrible. Players got to execute, and it goes both ways. You're gonna put it on the coaches, and you're gonna put it on the players. Just a tough loss last night for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, well, they were up 19, and so now I watched the game. So. But my thing is this, when the press conference, the reporter from one of those Raleigh stations, it was one of those Raleigh stations, they asked him, why did he go to a 6-man rotation in the second half? I mean, why did he switch up? And he just said, because I wanted to. I mean, it just, I feel like this right here, and I've been pro Hubert Davis, but I really think he needs to go. At the end of the day, it's like this, though, bro. I feel like this. Look, as the coach, there are coaches that know how to push people. You see what I'm saying? Other coaches are getting what they're doing. It was very poor execution. Look, they had 3 or 4 turnovers there in the last minute or two when it was just, it didn't make no sense. None. I mean, they couldn't get the ball in. You know what I mean? If you can't get the ball in, call timeout. I mean, I'm saying, and you're going to give them the ball. I mean, it was terrible. But, again, like Dean Smith said, it's just a game. So I knew they weren't probably going to go past tomorrow anyway because, of who they're going to be playing in the second round. So, but anyway, I just feel like that he's not what we need. That's what I feel about it, and I try to be a fair guy.
And you definitely do because me and you talked offline, and you are a big Hubert fan as well as I. But when I see the head right on the wall, I see it on the wall. But before we move on, let's not forget about High Point. They won yesterday.
They did. They beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, that was a Big 10 team school, so that was a big win for the region.
Right.
Duke hold on, and Duke better wake up because I didn't see that coming. But that coach, he played 5 players, and Troy, again, you talked about it. You got 12 to 15 players on a college roster. You're going to tell me you couldn't sub out the last 2 minutes of the half to give these guys a breather? You can't beat too many teams with 5 players unless they are all Americans, less known, trying to beat Duke. So.
Their legs got tired in the second half, and that's where you see them making those jump shots, and they're coming up short. You know what I mean? That's what happens. So, again, I guess they say we are Friday morning quarterbacks. But, again, look, I'll be honest with you. I never played any level of organized sports. I've always been a spectator. However, I think some things are pretty obvious, and what they were doing just didn't make sense. I mean,
you compare Carolina against you compare teams against other teams, how they execute and what their coaches do. That's how you make the comparison. That's just life. And one last team, let's root for the day. Queens University out of college. This is their first year of eligibility into the NCAA D1, and they play today. They're 16. I doubt they'll win, but hey, give them a shout out.
Well, the HBCU, Howard University, Washington, D.C., a number of folk around here are Howard graduates. Attorney Alan Rogers, I know he is a Howard graduate. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is a Howard graduate. The first half, they played a very decent game. They were only down by 4 points against Michigan.
Against Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. So.
But anyway, though, so
right.
so much for the sports stuff. Look, so I had the mayor on yesterday, and again, you and I talked offline. I was talking about that because I wanted to ask him some questions about, in particular, the whole data center thing. People that are against that, but I have to agree with him on this. So, resistance is futile. We're going to have to get in the game, or else the game is going to be around us. So if Fayetteville come to the county and say, well, we don't want no data centers, we're just going to be the only people without one. That's at the end of the day. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and what you would want to do is try to minimize the risk to the environment. Now, the water, I understand that you don't want to play around with water because if you look at the eastern part of the county with Comores, they've been burned. So I get that portion. We have to make sure that's non-negotiable water. But when it comes to, they say utility rates will go up for folks who own fixed income, I got a solution for that. If that's the case, then the companies come in here got an offset that in a certain way. We have to do something about that because folks on fixed incomes. So, and like you said, if not those types of jobs, what type of jobs are you trying to get in Cumberland County? Because we can go back to you and Tim White talking about you're competing against the RDU area.
Right now, but speaking of Tim White, where Tim lives now up there in up there around the Jordan Lake. What's the name of that place? I'm trying to think about.
Moncure?
Yeah, Moncure. So when the company from China comes and they want to build electric cars, they didn't come here. They went up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying is that. So, but probably if they came here, we would have the same 10 folk protesting that as well, in my opinion, because that's all they talk about is what they don't want. I just want to know, what do they believe would be a viable employer for our community that they would agree to?
Well, as you think about it, I know a friend of mine's son stays in Asheboro, and Asheboro, I think, probably an hour, 15 minutes from Sanford, which is off US 1. So he said, man, he drives all the way up there because, there are not any decent jobs in Asheboro for him. So it was a win-win for the US 1 corridor. But, Troy, when it talks about bringing money into the county, now there's possibly a bill where our state legislatures are looking into taking away taxing authority from local governments. So that comes into play, too. So Cumberland County has to decide what they want to be, and you have to have public input. I believe they should be public input on these data centers sooner rather than later because, like you said, if you stand idle too long, people going to move ahead of you.
Right. But, I would agree with the mayor on one thing, and it probably was more of my opinion than his. It can't be 10 or 15 people deciding for $350,000. You see what I'm saying? It can't be that, I mean, how does everybody feel about that? I mean, that's the question I have about it. I mean, you just, because they're up there, and I had a person, an individual to text me. He says 3 things. He's talking about the electricity, the water, and the noise. Okay, but I'm saying is that what business are we going to have that's not going to have some negative feedback or some caveats out there that don't fit into what everybody wants? I mean, what else are we going to, what jobs are we going to have here in our community that people are going to be able to go to when I think it's less than 20% of the people here have college degrees? I mean, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I agree with you. When it comes to those 10 people, that example you gave, it's like this. I tell anybody, whether it be Board of Commissioners, Board of Education, Fayetteville City Council, or in Raleigh, You may not like what your elected officials do. The only remedy to that, if they're, is to elect them out. They should listen to you, but they got to make the best decision that's in the best interest of the county and the taxpayers, because you cannot keep raising taxes on taxpayers. So you can be upset with your elected officials, but they have to make tough decisions. And I tell our elected officials, if you don't want to make tough decisions because you're getting calls from folks, then don't do the job.
Right. Well, I just got a text from the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and he's telling me, he said that on Monday, I guess this coming Monday at 6:30, there will be they will have public comment for the data center development policy discussion Monday night at 6:30, and it's all public input where we listen to the public, set for from 6:30 to 8 or longer, if there's more speakers. So people have an opportunity to talk about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm saying, is that if it's something that is inevitable, I don't see how we can decide amongst ourselves. Now, there's some people out there, I guess they just don't care, or they don't know that we need to try to wiggle around or dodge some things when I think it's not necessarily in our best interest. If the majority of North Carolina is going to have data centers in their communities and we decide not to, then again, that puts us in a position where we are an outliner to this whole process of that particular business discussion.
Well, and also you're competing against other counties. Not only that, and counties use those beverage taxes and entertainment and rental cars to bring in extra revenue. That could also go away too if folks don't come to Cumberland County, because you're going to be competing against Robeson County when they get if they get the casinos and hotels built up. So you have to have a stream of income. It's coming.
When?
But as like you say, Troy, they get to come to the public, let their concerns be addressed. But at the end of the day, you wasn't elected. You can go out there, put your opinion out there in the newspaper, and go to the city council meeting and the board of commissioners meeting. But at the end of the day, I want those folks, I want those commissioners and those council persons to do their personal research, bring in some subject matter experts, and then make the decision and live with it.
Well, yeah, you got a point there. But it's like, again, I'm talking behind the mayor, and those that are interested in that conversation, just go to our Facebook page and pull up what he was talking about that. He said that he and the chairman, Kirk Deviere, and the guy from Economic Development, I forget his name now, but anyway, though, so and another person, they went to Huntsville, Alabama, and they have a number of data centers there. And what they're doing, man. He said, look, the data centers wrote $1 billion check to the public schools. With a B, $1 billion. I mean, but then again, the kind of money that they bring to a community and the base that they have, two data centers here could get us out of being in our Tier 1 status, probably. And so, I mean, I know it's a complicated situation. I'll admit that I'm not the expert on this, but I just feel like that we have to do something besides nothing. What concerns me is when folk are just against everything. I mean, every time somebody comes up with a job or a company wants to come here, then you got people running down there with protest signs. So tell me, what is it that you want? That's what I want to just tell me what you want.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So here's what I would do. Let's look at the jobs that come into Fayetteville, Cumberland County. I guess we're in 2026 now. Use your parameters, 15, 10 years. I go back to 2010, so that's 16. Look at where you were at as far as jobs that came in here in the industry and say, all right, are we ascending into the right direction rather? And if that's not the case, you got to make some bold decisions.
Yeah, because people, I mean, Now, we have some restaurants and some convenience stores. My thing is that can't be the basis for everything, restaurants and convenience stores. I mean, that's not going to work. I mean,
and right now, you know, the federal government. Let's face it, everybody wants grants and for federal government. You don't. What happens in Washington affects Raleigh, and what happens in Raleigh affects us locally. So you got to be prepared. You know, sometimes you have to take emotion out of it, but you know, safety is number one priority. But you got to make some tough decisions. That's what you elect the elected leaders for.
Certainly. Well, you know, we got some other things too. I mean, I'm wondering for these individuals that are choosing to run for the Board of Commissioners, because I believe that is a very important board for all of Cumberland County, particularly now. I think that the board, under the leadership that we have, is going in the right direction, without a doubt. I think that we have some incredible leadership from Chairman Kirk Deviere. I mean, he appears to really be focused on getting things done, along with the whole board. But the two new members that came on with him, that would be Henry Tyson and Parvin Patel. But I think that we have a good board now. We have other people that are running now, so the composition of the board is going to change some in the fall. Could change, but most likely will change. Well, we know it will change because two people are going off. District 1, Jeanette Council, she's moving off, and she needs to be saluted for her service. She's been there a long time public servant. And also Marshall Fairclough, he was defeated in the primary, although Dr. Council, she chose not to seek re-election. But those are two changes that's going to happen right there automatically. But these people that are coming on there, I'm just wondering, what do they consider to be important? I just believe that one biggie is going to be our schools. You know,
yeah.
I mean, it's like the mayor was saying yesterday. You know, he knows someone that is from a larger community or a county, and he was talking about that it was printed that for the first time in a long time that we had funded the schools and gave them what they're asked. And he said that this particular person, I believe there was a superintendent he was speaking of, he said, man, you know, we always get what we ask for and more. So I just don't know what they're going to prioritize. I've heard rumblings of them trying to reverse what happened downtown with the event center that was at one time slated to happen in front of the courthouse. I just don't see how they believe that is a huge economic driver. Certainly, I know, according from the mayor, and I think he has a good perspective. He said, look, he said, a lot of the property downtown is owned by government. So, you know, if everything down there is owned by the government, you know, you're not getting any taxes from it, you know?
You're right.
We need a hotel or something down there. So, I mean, what are we going to do? So if people are running on the fact that they're trying to resurrect that, I have a problem with that. The next thing is, if look, I care about the homeless. I'm sure you do too. However,
yes.
It can't be. You know, you got a budget of about $600 or $700 million. How can you be only focused on that? Because look, we would become a magnet for homeless people just coming to Fayetteville and Cumberland County if we're just building Taj Mahals and giving them checks and feeding them. Look, why not create a situation where they can get a job and take care of themselves? So some of the people that are standing up, running off businesses, running jobs away from Cumberland County are also advocating for the homeless. It doesn't make sense to me, DL. I mean, you know, it's a head scratcher.
Yeah. Now, talking about what the mayor said about government owning all the business, and you talking about trying to resurrect that auditorium. It's, first of all, Robeson County nullifies that when they build these casinos, and they're going to have an entertainment venue because all of these, the casinos have entertainment venues. furthermore, if Cumberland County is set on having something downtown, partnership with the school. There are schools in North Carolina and the United States where the Board of Education has an auditorium, and they use it with the county. They use a multi-purpose facility where they can still use it, a little venue that's under 4,000 seats, maybe 3. If they want to resurrect that, they should go in a joint venture with the school system. But as far as financing the Board of Commissioners financing the schools properly, that was, like I said, that's the first time in a long time. I remember in Cumberland County where they was about to go to court over funding. And,
they have been in court.
Yeah. And, the commissioners, we hold the commissioners somewhat responsible for the schools as far as the funding goes, but they're going to have some tough decisions if they're revisiting some of these closures that the Board of Education already voted on. So they're going to have some tough decisions. But at the end of the day, like the mayor said, you're not bringing in money if they're government buildings, and you can't keep the government cannot taking money from taxpayers. That's houses and raising our property taxes is no way to go.
Right. Well, look, we're going to go to a break, come back this morning on this Friday morning show. We have DL is on the line, and we're chatting about various things that affect you. Hopefully, you're tuning in and listening. You can text me, or either you can post on also the website, the Facebook page if you're looking at that. We're going to be back for more following this break.
It's a pleasant start to spring with temperatures a bit warmer this afternoon, and we'll see increasing high clouds later today. Some brief showers are possible overnight. Otherwise, we'll see lots of sunshine for the weekend, and temperatures will continue to warm up. Clear this morning with temperatures in the low 40s, then more high clouds after midday. Highs reach the low to mid 70s. We'll drop to the low to mid 50s by Saturday morning, then high Saturday will reach the upper 70s to around 80. I'm meteorologist Grant Skinner in the NCN Weather Center.
Senator Tom Tillis on Thursday blasted talk of ending the Senate filibuster to pass the Save America Act as a foolish and lazy idea. Both the Guilford County Board of Elections and the Rockingham County Board of Elections on Thursday said that they found probable cause to move forward with an evidentiary hearing regarding protests filed by Phil Berger. The hearing in Rockingham County will take place on Friday, March 27th. Almost nowhere on earth is escaping the economic impacts of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran, according to economic sources. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says they are overwhelmingly winning the war against Iran. An investigation is expanding after skeletal human remains were found in the woods near Penita. Edgecombe County Sheriff's Department's investigating. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The Cumberland County Department of Public Health has been notified of a confirmed measles exposure. The individual is not a Cumberland County resident. There are currently no confirmed cases of measles in Cumberland County. If you were at Gates 4 Golf Country Club on March 13th between 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., monitor for symptoms through April 10th. If you believe you were exposed, check your vaccination status, monitor for symptoms, call ahead before visiting a healthcare provider. The Fayetteville Police Department Citizens Police Academy is calling. Get hands-on, ask real questions, see what actually happens behind the badge. It is at the Fayetteville Police Training Center, April 14th through 23rd, 6 until 8 p.m. You can sign up by scanning the flyer, QR, or going to FayettevilleNC.gov and going to Community Policing and Engagement. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Good Friday morning. We start your day with clear skies and temperatures in the low 40s. We'll see more high clouds mainly after midday today. Highs will reach the low to mid 70s this afternoon. Then partly cloudy overnight and into our Saturday morning. Some brief showers are possible. We'll drop to the low to mid 50s. Then partly cloudy for your Saturday. Highs reach the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. We'll reach the mid 80s by Sunday. I'm meteorologist Grant Skinner in the NCN Weather Center.
You're invited to the Apostle James H. McDonald Kentucky Derby Banquet on Saturday, April 4th at 3 p.m. sharp. join us at Faith Covenant Fellowship Worship Center, 742 East Russell Street in Fayetteville for an elegant afternoon of powerful ministry and music. MCing will be Apostle Roderick Jenneret along with guest speaker Bishop T.J. Bethay. And special music by national recording artists Emmanuel Boykin and Company and evangelist Pamela Jackson Jenneret. Tickets are just $50. For details, call 910-229-5854 or 910-527-4581. Don't miss this Kentucky Derby celebration. We'll see you there.
You have always put others before yourself. Put your country above all else. Given everything you can, every time. Now it's time to forge a new path. At Fayetteville State University, we believe your service is our debt. So we're offering free military family tuition. Yes, absolutely free. And with new programs like cybersecurity, anything really can happen. Fayetteville State University. Are you in?
If you can no longer work because of illness or injury, you should be collecting Social Security disability insurance benefits. Call Brent Adams now for a free consultation. Don't give up just because you've been turned down. Brent Adams has helped thousands collect full disability benefits, even after they've been turned down. Call now, 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call 8. At Brent Adams & Associates, we make things right.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people aged 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/contact-NC to find your county's ombudsman.
Back with you, 25 minutes for the top of the hour here. Again, DL is on the line. We're chatting. We had bled off into education. DL, I guess the thing that gets me is, okay, we're having all these meetings. Nobody wants to do what basically the consultant that they hired, and came back with the information. They don't want to do that. I mean, I got that. However, I'm going to use, as an example, Ann Chestnut. So according to the document that I saw, what they're saying is that Ann Chestnut was in worse condition than any other school in the whole system. It would take $6.7 million to bring it up to snuff. And the capacity was about a little less than 50% of the students that were going there. I think they have a capacity of something like 849, and they had like 400. And people are fighting to keep that open for historic reasons. And I understand that, but then again, I just question whether or not that's practical.
Well, Troy, here's the thing. The school board members made up of 9 members. They are the straw that stirs the drink. They decided to hire the firm. They decided to do this. They thought it was in the best interest. They took the input from the consulting firm. They went to their committee. They made decisions, and then they voted for it with the full board. Now they're reversing their decision. Now, the state law says if you're closing a school down, there has to be a public forum meeting out in the public. But if you're relocating a school to another building, it doesn't require you to go out to have a town hall type meeting. And again, Troy, and I'm going to look at the lens of, let me see. There's 9 school board members. There's 3 white folks, a male and 2 females, and then the rest are 6 black females. Because there's been hint of this has been done wrong, this is negatively affecting poor black and brown students. Well, I'm like this. These school board members have to make tough decisions. So if that's happening, then we have 6 black women that can stop that. I don't believe that's happening. They have to make those tough decisions. Because at the end of the day, the taxpayers, you know, Troy, like you said, you never attended a school in Pine Forest, and your daughter was was not a student of Cumberland County Schools, but you do pay taxes. And you
Yeah.
have a say so.
We did have her in a private situation, private school situation. But I feel like this. I feel like that what's going on though here is, you know, I get what they're trying to do, I guess, in the preservation of history. I'm just saying that these folk are older than I am, and I'm over 70 years old. So if you went to that school as a high schooler, a senior, graduating from it, you're averaging about 75 years of age. So, I mean, look, we all would like to stay here for a long time, but how much longer you going to be staying here if you're 75 years old? Okay, 15 years that will bring you up to 90. You see what I'm saying? I mean, so why would somebody that age be making a decision about the generation behind them? Because if you preserve the school, let's be honest, it's not the same thing. The lighting is poor. Some of those schools, they have lead, asbestos. They have, you can't put central air in them. They got window units hanging out the window. And why are you going to expose the kids? Why not allow the kids to have a brand new school?
But here's my point, though, when I talked about you. It's not just you, Troy, and your situation.
I'm sorry, you're saying.
It's the fact that you didn't, they wasn't paying for your youngin.
Nope.
But you still had to pay those property tax. And then you don't have any kids in the school system, but your property tax has to go there. So all taxpayers have say-so in their schools, regardless if they go to school or they have kids, they have say-so because it's their tax dollars. It's their property taxes they're going to be potentially raised to repair these schools.
Right. And not only that, though, you know, if you build a new school and you want to rename it, name the school, just take the name and move it to that school. I mean, if that's what you feel like you need to do. But, you know, I'm not embracing that. I don't understand it. And for those individuals that say, well, you know, you didn't go there, I got all that. But, you know, I've been living here since 1977. So, you know, and I've been a taxpayer that long. So I figure I deserve to have an opinion too. I mean, you know, that's.
Yeah. To me, I'm disappointed in the school board members because you hired a consulting. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to make everybody happy. Some people are going to be upset. But I have a problem when they try to say the decisions are made along racial lines when you control the board now, black folks. You're 6 of them on there. You're there to make sure everybody's treated equal. So that's part that I'm just surprised that they're floating out there.
True. You're right. You know, so that's kind of where our heads are, you know, but we've got to find a way to try to curb some of that. You know,
yeah.
There is what I believe a lot of racism in America at times. However, you know, I do believe that if you see everything through a racial lens, I mean, if you get up every day and you see everything through a racial lens, that it's going to be detrimental to your success and the success of the people around you that you're responsible for and to. You know, look, I don't see none of these Latinos out here marching. I don't see no Asians marching. I don't even see our Native American brothers and sisters marching. It's just black folk. You know, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. It's just black folk. I mean, we're the ones that's hollering the loudest when these other folk, all of those groups, nothing against them, but I don't believe they have no great love for us either. You know, the folk that they're fighting for to come here, the Latino group, I don't think they have a great love for African Americans. I don't. because they come here and they see who's on the bottom of the ladder, and they ain't feeling us like that, man. They're not.
And one last thing, Troy, on the schools, because you correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a law or rule that says if a school is under capacity or if the school repairs outweigh reach a certain threshold that you're supposed to close them down?
I was told that if it's over 50%, if you have to spend over 50% to get them fixed, that you're not supposed to get them fixed. Now, I don't know.
It's so true. If you own a house and you had the money to get another house, you're not gonna put money in that house. You're gonna go buy another one if you have the means to do it. But if it's the taxpayers' money, you want the taxpayers to do the opposite.
Yeah, well, it's true now. I mean, it's easy to make these decisions when you're spending other people's money. No doubt about it. I mean, look, when you're not spending your money and you're spending somebody else's money, duh, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So, but, here we are. We're in the midst of all that, and hopefully we can get all that worked out. But I want what's best for the youngsters that go to school here, and that we're not building things, we're not holding on to things just for historic reasons. Take some pictures, put some plaques up, make it a museum or whatever, but just to have it there and it's not benefiting or to the best benefit of the children that are going to school now, I think it's unfair. But the last thing, man, about that is that governments do this. They spend all of this money on these consultants, and then when they bring them back the facts and they don't like it and they put it on the shelf. I just wonder how much money is spent by these governmental entities and boards on consultants and advisors, and they come back and they don't like what they found out about whatever they wanted them to investigate, and then they put it on the shelf. I wonder how much money are we losing with people doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't implement at least some of the things they recommended, you're just wasting money. And at the end of the day, the Board of Commissioners have a decision to make, and Raleigh has a decision to make, because the purse strings are tightening up. Because, folks, we're in a conflict in the Middle East, and one organization that gets all the money they want is the Department of Defense.
Well, some people say that they shouldn't get it, but I'll be honest with you, I kind of feel like I want them to be doing what they're doing over there and not over here. Of course,
that's true.
All these people that have crossed the border, I don't know how many sales we may have here. You're not vetting people. You just let them, at a time, they were just crossing over. There may be some sales here now. However, I just, I know you've been in a war situation, and so have I. I'd rather be over there doing it and not here doing it. I mean, they're just, they start blowing up stuff over here. That's a different story. I mean, I'd rather have it like that.
Well, speaking of that, the lieutenant colonel that was killed in Old Dominion in Norfolk last week, so the young man that killed him had served federal time for aiding the enemy, trying to join ISIS. So I didn't know in Virginia, when you apply for college, they can't ask you about your criminal history or arrest. I think that's crazy. And then he went to school on campus, but he was supposed to be signing up for online, and he went in there and shot the ROTC instructor.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I didn't understand. To me, everybody should have to have a background check if you're coming on campus, because you need to qualify to stay in those dorms. Sometimes I think, I believe in a right to privacy, but also we should be doing background checks. We shouldn't just take anybody into these schools, especially state schools, because to me, government, your first responsibility is safety. It's safety, and if there's a potential threat, you shouldn't have them on campus.
That's true. That's true. I mean, well, the guy that he killed was an African American that had spent time here at Fort Bragg.
Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel, and I bet he's protecting the kids. I don't know how it went down, but his job is protect the kids, and I think that's what he was doing, Troy.
Yeah. Well, again, these individuals that are on this thing, and I feel like this, I do agree with this present administration regarding this. If you're here on a student visa and you're supposed to be here getting an education, and you out here trying to protest about pretty much hate America, then they need to send you back where you came from. I mean, you don't have the right to come here and do that. You don't. I mean, I just think they need to put them on a boat, plane, however they got here, and send them back to wherever they came from. If you come here on a student visa, it ought to be about education. It ought not be about protesting anything. If you don't agree with what's going on between Israel and Palestine, Hamas, all of that, look, they ain't got nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? If you're here on a student visa, and you don't need to be trying to take over buildings and get a bullhorn and start all this other stuff if you're here on a student visa. I just don't think that's fair to the American citizens. That's just my opinion.
I somewhat agree with you, especially when it applies to college campus, because you have other students that are there to learn, and then when you slow down the education process, if you're going to protest, take it in a public place on the streets. But when you're doing college campus, that kid can't go to class, that's here to learn. Now, speaking of these sales, Troy, the mayor, I don't pronounce his name, is it McDonough, the mayor of New York?
I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I know what you're talking about.
But he's had several attacks on his residence. It's the strangest thing. When the snow hit New York, under his regime, folks had to have 2 IDs to come show for liability purposes. I just find it strange. Now he's seeing it's different when you're campaigning, and then when you get in there, you see everybody's coming for you, and then you start thinking about things in a different manner.
Well, one of those attacks I know was not on him. It was CNN was reporting that it was on him. They had a partisan spin on it, but in fact, it was not on him. It was not directed at him. But that's the way the news was, reporting that.
Yeah. And one last thing, Troy. So Page and Fieldberger filed a complaint, and looks like it's going to go to court in Rockingham County to try to resolve that issue. Because, hopefully once they resolve that issue, hopefully they can get a budget before this next session plays out.
Well, we're the only state in the union. We're 1 out of 50. So 49 other states have passed a budget, and we have not. It's not a partisan issue because it's the Republicans who control the House and the Senate, and they just can't come to agreement on some things. They have what they call conferees that come together from both of those chambers, and they try to hammer things out, and they haven't been able to do it. But the upside is that when that happens, you just operate under the budget that you already have. So that's you don't get new funding per se, but you operate under what you already have. So the last budget, I believe, was $30 billion. I believe this new budget is something around $33 billion. I think I'm correct in that. But that's a lot of money, brother.
Yeah, because the DOD is asking for something similar to that. Man, that's a lot of money.
They're asking for $200 billion. However, you know, it takes a lot to defend this country, particularly with our interests that are global. I mean, because we have global interests.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've been spending and giving a whole lot of money away to a lot of people for a number of years. I mean, decades. But, you know, it seems as though the media, they only want to highlight it during certain times, but we spent a lot of money, bro. I call it wasting a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, well, look, we got about 7 minutes left, 6.5 minutes left. We're getting ready to close out this portion of our talk on today. But again, you know, folk will have to get out and vote, DL. That's the bottom line. People are going to have to vote, and hopefully they'll vote for somebody that is going to have the best interests of people in for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and folks also need to go to these various websites, Board of Education, Board of Commissioners, and City Council. They have agendas on there. They tell you when they're meetings, they tell you when it's public speaking. You know, you always tell me what was it Dr. Hackley always told you about public right to know stuff and what their responsibility is. He
said, look, and I'm not quoting him directly, but he's basically saying that if you want to live in a democracy and function, you're going to have to be knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable inside of a democracy, you're going to be at a deficit. And I do believe that, without a doubt.
You know, folks got social media. They're on these platforms. If you want to find something out, you can.
Right.
You know?
Well, they find out, you know, they know what they want to know. I mean, I put it to you like that. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative, but they know what they want to know. If they wanted to know about this stuff, they would be doing better. But what do? They just, you know, people are just upset about something, and rather than going somewhere and making a difference with regard to something and putting yourself in a position where you could become informed, you know, hey, look, we're choosing not to do that when it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. And another thing about the commissioners and the city councils, they can go out in their districts and go to the recreation centers and libraries. They can do their own town halls and have everybody come out. So then, you know, you don't have to, because trying to do everything at a board of commission or city council meeting, because they can only allot so much time for public speaking. So for those, because I know some commissioners and some council persons oppose data centers, they should be going out in their communities and letting folks speak to them.
I think you know, I think the whole thing with the data center thing is that there need to be some subject matter experts that can come and share with people exactly, you know, what's going on with this stuff and what's wrong. You know, so as long as we have situations where people don't know what's going on, they just don't know. You know, that's part of the issue there. They just don't know.
Yeah, because, you know, some of these environmental folks, you know, I'm glad we had to deregulate some of the stuff because, you know, the industry is going to happen. You know, some of these what we call tree huggers riding around here in these big SUVs, you know, fogging up the environment. I seen a guy with one of those shirts on, and he's getting out of one of these big Escalades. I'm like, seriously? He had one of these shirts on, protect our environment for my kids, and he gets out of a gas-guzzling Escalade. Make it make sense.
Well, you know, I mean, hey, look, it's bigger and better now, man. I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, Al Gore was talking about all that, and he was flying around, had his own private jet, you know, global warming. You see, anybody's talking about that now, you know. So it shows you where everything that they said about global warming was not true. At least not in the timeline that they were saying is going to be something wrong. They were wrong about that. But you know, they was all up in arms with that. And you know, if you didn't agree with it, they want to beat you up. I remember when the shoe shine shop was still on Person Street, and they were asking me about it. I said, man, I don't believe that, man. Now, I saw a picture, man, a polar bear was out there, and he didn't have nowhere to go. I said, but you don't know where that polar bear was at, you know? I mean, really? So you act like that people can't make stuff up and shoot a polar bear. I mean, for all you know, that polar bear was somewhere in a zoo on a piece of ice. I mean, you know, you really don't know. But they said that, I remember this guy was saying this. Now, he was saying this for real. This was around 2005, 2006. He said, this generation here, and he was talking about the people on the East Coast, these kids will never see snow. Global warming, they would never see a flake of snow. They were wrong about that. I know that. I mean, look, just last week, people digging from under, not inches, but feet of snow. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
They play us, man. They play us all day long, and we go for it.
Okay.
Well, look, man, I'm getting ready to wrap things up here. I'll let you have last comment.
All right, well, like I said, first day of spring, and I start to see the pollens, but, you know, WIDU, still praying for you, and it's great to have Tammy back. Great to hear that voice.
Thank you.
She says thank you. Well, look, we'll get out of here. Banks McLaughlin, Courtney Banks McLaughlin coming up next. She will be discussing her new book.